Hey folks, it's Jim. I wanted to go over something today um, that I don't see very often incorporated into our prepping and so on and so forth, and that is the staff. Um, I, for most of my life, I have had a staff, and it is a part of my daily life. I go nowhere without them. Anybody who knows me in my daily life knows that I always have the staff. It is always with me, so much so that they don't even notice it anymore. Many people gift me with staffs. This particular one was gifted to me long ago. It was made by the Amish, and it is sculpted so it can become a conversation piece, but is certainly not considered a threat wherever I may go with it. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it is a part of me now, so people don't consider my staff a threat. It's just a part of me. Even when I'm out shopping and I encounter people, most people don't even notice the staff anymore. When I'm pushing my grocery cart, my staff's laid in there, no one notices it. That to me is quite interesting. So it becomes kind of a gray man tool. And very useful in a multitude of ways. Now, it came about, my staff use, as practical when I was young, trekking, hiking, and climbing. Staff is always very useful, right? And then one time I had an injury and had to use a cane, crutches, cane, so on. And then I went with the staff because I just felt more comfortable, plus it was a part of my life already. And so it is always a part of my life now. Always has been, really. But in my public life, this is always with me as well. The other thing that's neat about a staff is it cannot be taken from you if it is an assistive walking device. Even on an airplane, you're entitled to keep it with you. Just like a cane or anything else. And in public forums, in federal facilities, whatever, your walking device is allowed to remain with you. You cannot carry a knife, you cannot carry a gun in these facilities, but you can carry your personal assistive walking device, can't you? For those of you with frailties or what they consider disabilities or whatever, you are entitled to carry your staff. The staff also, to me, a lot of people have misconceptions about handguns. Handguns can be quite easily defeated. Anyone who's properly trained knows that. The other disadvantage to a handgun is if your assailant is within 20 feet, it can be easily defeated. Most people are not trained competently enough to deal with a threat that is within 20 feet with a handgun. The assailant will be on you in less than a second. Remember how they measure athletes. They run a 40-yard dash, 120 feet, in just over 4 seconds. Quite remarkable how fast the human animal is. The other thing is, when someone is charging you, you are now the hunted, and where you was once considered yourself the hunter, and that causes a snap in the human brain just long enough for an assailant to be on you in less than a second. So there are a lot of limitations and fatal flaws in the idea that a handgun can protect you in all situations. It cannot. That is a fatal error in many people's preparedness. Most people are not competently trained to utilize a handgun effectively with an assailant even within 30 feet. Maybe ethical preparedness can give us some information on that. He is a law enforcement officer and competently trained in the arts of self-defense. So that is one of the reasons why also I recommend a staff. It is also, I'm assuming, in Western civilization, people associate this with monk or trekking or things of that nature. They see it, it's not encountered as a threat, and their eyes move away. So we can trek through a multitude of situations and blend, or be gray man, if you will. People just don't consider this a threat in Western civilization. And that is a very nice attribute of this piece of gear. It also helps us when we're trekking and other things, right? But also if I throw a weather poncho over me, not a tactical poncho, a weather poncho, and I'm trying to get out of a chaotic environment, nobody's going to notice somebody with a poncho and a staff, are they? You're just a trekker. The human eye will recognize it, but it recognizes it so well it just moves on. It doesn't consider it a threat. So that's another neat thing about that. We can be up close and personal to potential threats and yet not have to be a threat. And that's interesting, or not be considered a threat. And that's quite interesting as well, phenomena about the staff. The other thing that the staff does for me in my life is gives me self-discipline and relaxation and training. This has been going on for years and years and years in my life. I don't share generally about a lot of my personal activities or life. I share what I think is pertinent to prepping, but my personal experiences are mine, and therefore they remain private, generally. But this is something that everyone can do. It isn't probably allowed in your workspace. It's probably allowed in every facility that you enter and exit, whereas knives and guns may not be. And that's another interesting thing about the staff. It is very unassuming. People do not consider these a threat generally in Western civilization. And well, shouldn't be. And most often, who do they think of? A monk, Moses, Jesus, somebody peaceful and spiritual, right? That's what generally is associated with the staff. There is a character on Walking Dead, this character Morgan. Once he started carrying and using the staff, I was like, no, no, they're bringing Western identity to a staff. Please don't. But, you know, I've learned that, you know, there's a lot of people that watch the show, but generally the population doesn't. So, but that was funny how I reacted to it. Probably a lot of people were thinking about it. Me, personally, as a staff carrier, was like, no, please. But anyway, so it's something that is very unassuming and can be carried virtually anywhere and not considered a threat. And the other thing is, too, for those assailants that are within 20 feet, it is quite useful. And also, a person with a handgun that gets too close might find themselves with the tables turned rather quickly with someone who's proficiently trained with the staff. So just something to think about. This brings self-discipline, it brings peace, it brings meditation to my life. Also, it is a part of me. It is not separate. It is like a hand or a fist. It is always there. Always. And anyone who knows me in my personal life knows me with my staffs. That's why people gift me with different staffs. But I find that no one really talks about it in preparedness. I see people with backpacks and guns and knives and everything else. But this, my friends, can defeat a multitude of threats and bring countless hours of self-discipline and respect and training to ourselves throughout our lives. Again, it's unassuming and it's non-threatening to most Western civilization people's eyes. Excuse me, it was cold out. I've been going in and out of doors. So I just wanted to share that. The staff. Have you thought about the limitations of your handgun or your knife or something that's holstered that you have to reach for and get out versus something that is a part of you and always at the ready? Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won or lost before it begins. We have to take these things into consideration. Have you considered all of these things with regards to how you're going to get out of wherever you're at, or should you have to trek, and whether or not you use this as a defense item, personal defense item, this is a very useful item to have with you in any trekking situation, right? So I just wanted to share that. For me, the staff is a valued part of my life, and so much so that I don't go anywhere without one. That's just my life. And it is so much so part of my life that people who I encounter on a regular basis don't even notice it. Isn't that interesting? You would think it'd be the opposite, but it's not. The staff is associated with peace and spirituality in Western civilization. So now obviously someone trained in law enforcement and other things will look upon it as a potential threat. So, but they are trained. They are not the average person, right? So I just wanted to share this. Have you thought of a staff as part of your bug out kit? And for those of you who are disabled or otherly abled, I should say, or with physical limitations that require an assistive walking device, this cannot be taken from you. You can carry it anywhere. It is your personal assistive walking device. So I just wanted to share that as well. And remember, I think a lot of people overestimate the effectiveness of a handgun, when in reality it can be defeated in a multitude of situations. And people overestimate their ability, more importantly, with handguns. And maybe Ethical Preparedness can do video on that as well. It takes 200 to 1,000 repetitions to proficiently pull a handgun and be effective on a close range assailant. Or threat, I should say. And remember, when the mind, when you are being attacked, the mind snaps for just a second, okay, or a millisecond, I should say, and that can be just enough time for somebody to be on top of you and render your handgun useless. So it takes training and training and training. Whatever you choose, I guess what I would like to say about that is become proficient with it. Receive the training that is required to become proficient with it. Know its limitations and its weaknesses, where it is effective and where it can become a detriment. And handguns can be both, I'm afraid. And remember that someone within 20 feet can most assuredly defeat a handgun, unless one is truly, truly trained. I mean, really, really trained on how to pull that weapon properly and make it effective. But most people just aren't. The average individual is not trained on that level. And it takes hundreds of repetitions to become so proficient. So think about the staff, incorporating this into part of your life. It's not just that, it gives hours of self-discipline, relaxation, meditation, and training. What a nice thing that is. And we should always be continuing to improve ourselves, shouldn't we? No matter how good or talented we think we may be, we can always learn more. And something like this has thousands of years of heritage. One can never stop learning just about a simple staff and its uses and becoming proficient. So anyway, again, let me close with Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won or lost before it begins. Jim out.